Right, welcome back to another episode of Into the Valley. Today we will be looking back at Charlton's last gasp winner at Bramall Lane for Charlton sealing all 3 points. Yeah, what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a long time coming. I think we've had so many games where we've been so close to getting the 3 points, but not quite getting the goal.
Hmm.
I think as well the edge on the game. Obviously, had Wilder coming back, his homecoming. 30,000 crowd at the game. So we weren't sure whether we would see a sort of massive sort of reaction from the Sheffield United players. I think they put in a lot of huff and puff, but they, again, probably what they've struggled with all season is the sort of that final bit of quality to sort of get them the goals. And we obviously capitalised on that. We played a really solid game, a really solid away performance, which we're kind of known for, to be fair, aren't we? Especially under Jones. And then obviously getting that goal right at the end, there's nothing better, is there? It's sort of they can't come back from that. So
And something we're so good at.
yeah,
It
exactly.
happens so often with us, doesn't it?
Most of our wins come right at the end of a game, which again is a nice way to win because you've got no.
And I think it also just brought back the bittersweet of last week, kind of conceding late on to this week now, getting the points late on was lovely.
And that's ultimately how this season's going to go. Like we've said it before, but there'll be games where we maybe concede late, but there'll definitely be a lot more games where we get late goals that will get us either 3 points or a point. So you can't. We're delighted at what a result. To be
and I think you hit the nail on the head. It was probably before the news about Wilder coming back, we were probably licking our lips at the fixture.
Yeah.
And I think that just brought something else. And we've seen it so many times where that bounce, especially in the fashion of what they had, where it wasn't just a new manager coming in, it was someone who
knew the team,
got them 90 plus points last year, knew the team. And I have to admit, I thought, from what I've seen, they looked better, but they weren't miles above what maybe we've seen.
No.
I think they probably had some passages of play that were a little bit better than what they've been doing, but I think probably their main problems are still there. And I think maybe the lucky side of that is Wilder hasn't had his chance to really
fully bed in.
Fully bed in what he wants. And even though he knows a lot of those players, they are still low on confidence. And we just, as I say, I think we just about played them at the right time.
We just got in there enough time. Yeah.
Would have been nice if it had still been Sellers, but I feel like that would have been a bit more comfortable. But I thought brilliant performance. I thought we played the game really well.
We managed the occasion well,
I think so, because it's one of those where easily you could, especially in that first 10, 15 minutes when they're naturally going to be on a bit of a high of the crowd and everything like that, you could easily kind of concede a couple then and really kind of be in a bit of trouble. And I thought we just managed the whole game really well. I thought we were, for large spells, the better team. I thought even when they had pressure, we did what we do so well, which is very rarely let them get a good chance.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was kind of pot shot. It was a free kick from further out. There was only really in the game, I think, one or two where I'd say they were dangerous chances, and probably the main one was our own mistake, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, I thought brilliant game, and I suppose let's move into the actual game itself. So, starting off first half, I thought they came out obviously with that little bit of energy. I thought we handled it really well. They had the chance with Hamer.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that Wilder, there are a couple of his old faithful sort of players that came straight back in because Sellers had dropped Hamer last game. Hamer came straight back in. You had Campbell come back in up top as well. So you can tell already that Wilder's probably got some players that he really likes, that he depends on a little bit.
But if they've been out of the squad a while, they might not be quite fit. And
and also Hamer, he's a bit of a luxury sort of player, so he tends to score quite a few goals, but he tends to score sort of long range finishes and stuff like that. But he had obviously that chance. He sort of had a shot from outside the box.
It was off a corner. It was laid back, and he caught the ball well. Although I have to admit, it's one of those you sometimes they catch the ball and you instantly think, right. Well,
it was pretty close to me.
The one Leicester scored against us, it was like as soon as it left his foot, you thought, oh no, that's not good. But I thought with that one, it was kind of dangerous, but it didn't. I wasn't kind of like really scared about it.
No, and as you said as well, like a lot of the times when Charlton concede nowadays under Jones, it'll be because that either it's a wonder strike or they've worked it really well to get in behind our back line, and that would have been a wonder strike from range that would have sort of
very few times we give up too many chances nowadays. I thought it was quite positive to see, especially in the early stages as well. We had Kelman who kind of broke through relatively in on goal. I think the defender had quite a good positioning, kind of brought it wide.
It's a bit of an angle, isn't it?
Yeah, angle, cut it across goal. I thought it was probably a chance where, especially if he maybe had a bit more confidence, maybe a couple of goals behind him, he might have had a bit more. I thought he kind of stopped on the ball
Yeah, a
a
little bit.
little bit and like
Yeah,
almost seemed a bit unsure what to do. And I think with a bit more match sharpness and maybe just a little bit more
yeah.
confidence, that's a chance that might have been a bit better than what it was. But
Yeah, he's a striker that's crying out for a goal, isn't he?
mm,
We've said it a
mm,
few times now
mm,
already, but we're like 5, 6 games in now.
mm.
Albeit that he hasn't started every game, but he is a striker that once he gets one goal, I think he will start to flourish,
Yeah.
and let's hope that
Yeah.
happens. But yeah, no, wasn't a bad effort.
Yeah, and then we had the TC kind of push down, similar on the kind
Yeah,
of other wing,
opposite side.
pushed on the right, was causing a lot of problems for their defender. I think from memory he might have been running up against Godfrey as well, and obviously that's
Yeah.
someone who's got quite a
Well,
pedigree.
he's
And
just been playing in Serie A for a
Yeah,
little while, hasn't he?
yeah.
And stuff. So he's played at a high level.
they seem to kind of play him a little bit out of position though, and he seems to be struggling from what I've seen of fans. But interestingly, I think with TC, I had seen that. I watched a few kind of Sheffield United fans' reaction after the game, and I think a lot of them were pretty complimentary to TC that he was causing them problems, and looked probably one of the more exciting, especially with Apter maybe not in the squad,
Yeah,
of that kind of dangerous, explosive.
it highlights him a little
side.
bit more maybe
Yeah,
when Apt's
yeah,
not playing.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I think as well, if you were an away fan, or opposition fan against Charlton, you would definitely be looking at Campbell and saying, "No, he's a dangerous player that we've got to sort of be careful against, especially at the back." So yeah, but Campbell again had a really good game actually.
Yeah, I think so. And then I think probably, as I say, it was a first half that was quite tight. I think we were the better team, but it wasn't like we were free flowing, tearing them to pieces.
Yeah.
I felt what I feel, and I feel it with a lot of Charlton games nowadays, is I feel pretty comfortable in what we're trying to do, and even when it's frustrating that we're not quite creating all the chances, I feel like the solidarity we have in the team.
I agree.
It's only a matter of time till there is just that one pass, and I think that one pass came in the moment where Connor Coventry got an absolute whip on a ball into Jones. Brilliant header. What exactly
Great
we
save as
said.
well.
Yeah, the problems that he causes. Great save. And on another day, it drops to Kelman in the right position. He was just a bit tight. He swung at it, and I'm not going to
It
criticise.
kind of drilled it back across the box.
Yeah, it just kind of. It was one of those where there wasn't really much you could do, but it was probably, I'd say, the best chance we had in that first half.
Yeah,
and,
definitely. I think that cross from Coventry is. I'm hoping we'll see a few more of those from him, because we've spoken about Coventry being obviously fairly defensive in terms of the way he plays. But if he can start adding that sort of quality of cross and the sort of those, he played a nice. We saw it earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, second half. Yeah,
he played a nice sort of cross
ball
build
across to Bree for one of the chances in the second half.
If he can start adding those elements to his game where he's starting to sort of spread the ball a little bit more, we're just going to see more and more sort of positive play from him. And let's hope that continues. But yeah, for that Jones chance, that cross was a lovely one actually.
And I think this season he's starting to show some of those little bits of quality that maybe in League One he just didn't have to. But I think maybe step up that level.
I think it's a confidence thing as well.
Yeah, it brings it out.
When you realise that you can sort of mix it in the Championship with players of a really high quality, ultimately I think it raises your game anyway, because you sort of realise actually, I can fit in quite comfortably here. And then maybe as well as the games get stretched and things, he starts being a bit more positive in terms of the way he's passing. So no.
But I think that covers the first half quite well. As I say, it was quite bitty with us having the better of it. Going into second half, I thought realistically, Sheffield United had one chance at the beginning, which was probably a bit of a mistake from Bell trying to clear the ball. A very, very good chance, but us doing what we do best, chucking a body in. I think it was Josh Edwards throwing his body in. And as soon as that chance kind of went, I don't think there was really anything else.
I think when I watched Wilder's sort of match interview after the game, he did describe it as a chaotic game, and I kind of would go along with that. I think the weather played a part as well. Obviously, it was bucketing for large parts of that game, so that already makes it difficult to get any sort of flow in the game. But when you've got a side in Sheffield United that have really struggled to sort of break teams down, or at least finish off chances they're creating. I think you'll find we saw it where they huffed and puffed, but they couldn't really blow the house down.
Yeah, and I also don't think with them. I think they if you look at the stats, they had quite a lot of passing possession, and we seem to thrive on just letting teams do that.
Yeah,
and I think it's something where they do pass side to side, struggling to break us down, and then it is pop shots. I think once again another game where I want to say they had something like 12, 13 shots maybe, but with
One
one
on
on
target.
target,
Yeah.
Making Kaminsky's job very easy at the moment in a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of games.
Well,
So,
that's the thing with Kaminsky is he's got a back three, /5
mm,
in front of him that are really going to make life very difficult for strikers to get shots away.
mm.
So therefore, he isn't actually having to come up against too many shots, which is perfect for him.
And I
'cause
think
it's
that's
good
where
for
some of the criticism, when some fans have looked at some of the chances, maybe where he has conceded a goal, you're having to almost be so critical of one singular moment. You
Yeah.
haven't really got much else
You're
to
like,
go on. So when
fuck.
you go, okay, you did have a shot, and maybe it was quite close to you, and maybe it was to your feet or whatever, and you should have saved it. I think if he was making 30, 40 saves over this period of time, you'd probably be saying, oh yeah, eventually it's going to go in. It's
And let's not forget that he's come from Luton, where he was genuinely getting peppered every
Yeah.
week because they've had a couple of really bad seasons. So,
Mm.
but yeah, he's slotted in. We obviously every week we sort of bring him up and talk through how he's performed. But yeah, again, he didn't have much.
And I think it was quite, as I say, it wasn't a game where, once again, even in the second half, even though I feel we had the best of the chances, I don't feel like we were absolutely dominating, completely
No,
pressing all on top. But I think we were, especially when it came to chance creation and the key moments, we were starting to knock on the door. And I don't think it felt as much as I felt there were other games we had where, for example, the Leicester game, I felt we should have won. If we had come away 0-0, I would have felt we were the better of the two sides, but it would have been,
taken it.
yeah, I would have taken it away point, especially with the Wilder situation. But I think some of the positions we were getting in, as I say, we discussed it briefly earlier, but the crossfield pass from Coventry to Bree,
Really
and
nice.
Bree, who had just an incredible game. We'll obviously go into the individual performances later, but the class he kind of brought, and I think
yeah.
I saw a lot online of when, obviously, you get the highlight reels when we sign him,
Yeah.
and it seemed like he had that real technical side of it, whether it was free kicks or a pass or whatever. But I thought he brought something really interesting into the game where I was worried when Apter wasn't in the starting lineup that I
same.
thought we haven't got that explosive pace or creativity. And actually, I think if we had had Apter in that game, we maybe wouldn't have got as good of a chance as.
I think Bree, like you hit the nail on the head in terms of he has that real quality in terms of every touch I saw him take it just straight down on his foot. Immediately looking up and looking positive as well in terms of what pass he's next going to play.
Even the Coventry ball to him and the cross he had where Doc got on the header, he just kind of stopped and then he was looking around, and he just whipped this absolute.
I'm going to put it on a sixpence.
Yeah, and it was, and that's what it felt like, and it felt like, I think one of the really good things with that is it's just highlighting once again where there was some Charlton fans when the transfer window kind of closed who still felt worried about depth. And I think it's maybe a side of the game that when we signed him, I wouldn't have necessarily had him in the role of what he brought in that game. And actually, I wouldn't have huge levels to say about him defensively. And if I did, I thought it was probably the weakest part of his game on the day.
Yeah.
But on the attacking side, I thought he was absolutely sensational. And I did not think I'd be coming out of a game saying that.
No,
then I don't really know him as a player amazingly well.
Well, also, we were sort of, obviously, with Ramsey being such a key player for Charlton sort of last season, obviously, he started really well this season too in most games. Having him not playing was sort of one of those where it was like, okay, how are we going to cope with this? And Bree has stepped in absolutely in terms of the quality he brought. And you can 100% see that he's played at a high level as well. That's one thing that sort of stood out massively, I think.
And I think the interesting thing as well is it starts creating all these headaches, because I looked at his performance and thought, yeah, I'm really excited to see him next week. And then you're thinking, but no, Apter's in that role. And then I look at like the Sonny Carey Nibs kind of argument, for example.
Yeah.
And it's almost all across the pitch. And I think, for example, Burke stepped in. And I think Ramsey's one that will definitely come straight back in. But Burke stepped in and definitely showed that
he can cut it.
He can cut it at that if we have got an injury or a suspension or whatever.
It's great to have that depth.
No, exactly. And I feel as the game went on, we were knocking. I kind of felt it just wasn't going to be our day, and I was worried: are we going to be sitting here again having a conversation of good performance, but only getting a point? Just can't take our chances.
Yeah.
And then we decided to do what we did in the last minute, hit a long lump up.
Yeah.
But what I was really impressive, 2 flick-ons, one the headers, wanted it more.
Yeah.
And then it came to Bree, and what a first touch.
But it was essentially that touch was what made the goal. Because if he doesn't take that down, but it was the way he took it down, but it was into his path to...
So composed.
Yeah, really
just
nice.
The touch was composed, and then the pass as well. And then Tanto couldn't really miss. I mean,
No.
I don't think it was the greatest strike in the world.
All he had to do was hit the target,
Yeah,
keep
he
it
was
down, I
so
think,
close.
which
Yeah,
is what he did.
yeah.
Um,
So amazing in the scenes. I mean, seeing the
Yeah.
limbs in the away end was just
well,
incredible.
also for an away fan going all the way up to Sheffield in the pissing rain,
yeah,
and then to obviously get that at the end,
Yeah.
and also really completely silence that crowd that would bang up for that
Yeah.
game because of the situation with Wilder coming back. So
I wouldn't have wanted to be in the dressing room with Wilder after. Did
No,
you
he
see
was
how quickly he went down the
straight
tunnel?
down. He briefly shook Jones's hand and then
Yeah.
straight down the tunnel.
Yeah.
I quite.
And I also, I would love, and I hope I see more of the clips going around. Did you see Jones when the goal went in, his knee slide?
knee slide.
He ran down the line.
The thing is, as well, like you've got to enjoy those moments because you think back, and I saw some people posting about where we were this time last year, and it was away at Burton. I think it was struggling, and that really does actually bring it back to you of how far we've come as a club, and beating a team like Sheffield United, who are established in the Championship. Obviously, they very narrowly missed out on promotion last season. So yeah, I mean,
and I also think their position in the table doesn't necessarily highlight how tough of a game it still is, because if you look at their results, it hasn't been good, but a lot of them have been 1-0. They obviously got tanked by Ipswich, but it's not like they've been. They're still not. You're not going to go to Bramall Lane and have an easy game, and it is still very challenging. And I think to go and do it in the way we did, is really impressive. And I also think for Jones, and that release you probably saw of him kind of on his celebration was. There's been so much over the last, over the whole start of the season that we've shown very good signs, but it's been so frustrating, whether it was the Millwall game, whether it's the Leicester game. And I think in that game, it going in our favour. And what we've always discussed, those fine margins just teetering onto our side instead.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's what that was. It was just almost like, finally, it has now, in a game, dropped to our side where that's happening.
Yeah, and also it was almost the perfect game plan in a way. We were, like you said, we were so solid at the back. There was... As long as we don't concede, there's always that chance in an away game. You're going to hit on the counter. You're going to have that last minute chance, which is obviously what happened. But that's where that relief probably shows in Jones's celebrations as well. Is like you said, finally something's clicked in terms of the game plan has completely come off. And to do that at Bramall Lane, there's probably not many better away days in terms of
and especially the occasion.
It's perfect.
Quite like knowing all the Sheffield United fans driving home just with Nathan Jones knee sliding down the touchline etched into their skulls. So, so let's go into the individual performances then. So starting off, I just feel Groundhog Day again.
It is every time.
Kaminsky, I thought showed really solid in just his claiming of the ball. And he saved his one shot quite well, even though it was right at him.
Straight into the arms. I mean, he is going to be loving playing behind that back line because they have been so good this season so far, and he will concede goals. Like it's natural in the Championship. You're going to have long rangers as well. There's quality players in that division that will pick off shots from the edge of the box and will beat him occasionally. But I do think, like you said, he is so solid in terms of any of those sort of half chances, he gobbles them up, doesn't he? He does.
Well, I also think we just play to his strengths as a keeper really well as well, because we very rarely... I know a lot of fans, maybe of especially the Luton side, have said like, "Oh, coming off his line and things like that."
Yeah.
We don't concede many chances like that, and if his absolute best trait is shot stopping, a lot of the time it is a bounce off and a kind of pop shot, or it's a shot from distance. And I think as a keeper, that probably plays to the strongest part of his game.
Yeah.
And there will be goals he concedes. And as I say, at the moment, I think the only criticism he's had his way is sheerly because of such a little book of kind of chances to go by. You're going to have to be ultra critical of when he's only maybe had 8-9 shots over the whole season in total that he's had to save. When he does concede, you have to maybe just be a bit more critical. And I think once again, just really solid.
Really good.
Really good. So I think this is probably going to be the highlight period of it, is going over the defence, because I think the whole defensive unit was just, it was Rolls Royce on the day, when it was incredible. Let's start with the person who obviously came into the lineup, Burke.
Yeah, so Burke, I think, again, he was ex-Luton. He's played under Jones before. Jones knows exactly what he'll get from him. And I know for a fact, like when he left Luton, they were saying that he was their best defender when he left Luton in the summer. He's shown, again, another type of player that just puts a shift in, works really hard, did nothing wrong, was solid. And again, a player that is a total Jones sort of fit in terms of the way he plays. And he's again another one that's played at a good level, so he's calm on the ball, confident. Yeah, I was really pleased.
And I think what he highlighted is, I think a lot of fans were concerned, oh, why have we signed this player with such a bad injury record? I think we pretty much highlighted it. He is class when he's fit.
Yeah.
And I think what we have in that moment is Ramsey dropped out, and you do still have a class backup. And I think as long as you don't rely on him to be your starting centre-back every game, you'll probably keep him fit enough for the season that when you need him, you're not relying on a youth player like a Zach Mitchell, who realistically has got potential, but is not the finished article. Well, I think with him, you've got the most ready set player, but probably over Luton days has been relied on as the
I was just about to say that. Yeah, so Luton would have played him week in, week out if they could. So that's probably where he's probably found that he's week in, week out. He's probably struggled to keep fit. But as you said, we have the luxury of being able to rotate our defence now.
And I think that will suit him really well. And I think if we can keep him fit as a backup option, and look, there notoriously will be some injuries throughout the year, suspensions like Ramsey's, and I think to know that that's the quality that's coming in, and the one player I feel kind of sorry for when I see that is Gillespie. But I do think with him, he probably covers Bell if he picks up an injury, and that probably will.
And he's also a bit more left-sided, isn't he? So.
Yeah, so he's probably more likely to cover that. So, well, going on to that conversation, it's probably a good place to go with Amari Bell.
Yeah, Bell's, again, I think just got stronger and stronger as he's played sort of the first few games for us.
Best game of the season?
I would say. Yeah, I think so. I think he is. We mentioned a few episodes ago, like, about him dribbling out from the back. He had one little run in that game where he completely stormed up the pitch.
Kept going.
Yeah, and he's not shy. He will take players on, and if he sees a little gap that he can run into, he'll go for it. And because he's quite quick, and he's very good with his feet actually. He gets up the pitch. So and then we've got the cover anyway. So yeah, he had that, but not only that, he was really good defensively.
I thought he was immense defensively, and I think similar to last week, he was winning every header. The only one little question mark moment was probably the start of that second. I'm pretty sure it was him who kind of fluffed a clearance and it went to Campbell. We've said that maybe that is the case, that he might have a few little mad moments in him. But once again, what did we say when that does happen? Someone will be there to cover him, and Josh Edwards took the hit well.
I know he had one. I think he had one blocked cross fairly early in the first half, which was quite important because they were sort of getting in behind. And then he also had the one at the end where Hamer was sort of, the ball nearly got all the way through.
Well, that's probably most important, because I have to admit, there were days gone by that I think I had a bit of PTSD.
Slips or something.
And as soon as that ball went through, I thought, oh no.
Yeah.
And just seeing it, he's so casually
he's
took
composed,
the ball, turned it, composed, and that's what he brings. And I think that's from playing at higher levels. I think just you naturally have that. And I thought
really good.
I thought the best game in a Charlton shirt, and I think that whole unit now
so good.
It's just gelling so well, and the fact actually it's gelling well even when you are kind of picking someone out, putting someone else in. I thought that's probably the most impressive bit, because up to now we have had just that same starting kind of back five, whatever you call it.
Jones picking the team.
And I think to actually see other players come in and have just as solid a performance was incredible.
Really good,
and I think that goes on to the last one, which once again I think just like Kaminsky, it's going to be a very short one for such the right reasons.
Yeah.
Lloyd Jones,
just every week it's like a 7.58 out of 10.
I have to admit, there's part of me it hasn't surprised me, but there is a big part that I was that step up, especially when you're that kind of slower, kind of winning all the headers. I thought maybe you go up and maybe he will get caught out a bit more, and I think he's got better.
He's got better. You're right. Like going up to the Championship, you're like, okay, can he cut it against like those real quality players? Yes, it's the answer. We've already sort of seen so many times where he's been bullying their key strikers. He harries strikers as well, so he'll get right up in their face. You can tell like they don't like being sort of roughed up by him, but he wins every header.
And then once again as well, the danger from set pieces, that header. I mean, it was brilliant. It was an amazing save, because it was very little you could say was wrong about it.
No, he couldn't have done much more.
Danger he brings across everything, and as I say, how solid defensively, the danger he brings. He's just absolutely immense. And as I say, that step up, I think there always is a question mark when you go up, but anything I had in my head has absolutely gone, and he's
like you said, he's got better and better.
And I wonder if sometimes some of that as well does come down to how Nathan Jones also builds his squads, because it is built to accommodate if you are that with maybe heading and being the more physical, you'll have like an Amari Bell who's a bit more athletic next to you who will cover, and it's almost like he builds the squad around knowing that it gives each player the most they can do in their position.
I agree, and I think like Jones brings players in that complement other players that he knows are going to be in the team for a long time, and I think that's what he's done. He's got Jones in, who's that real sort of solid, wins the big duels in the air, all that stuff, and then he makes sure he's got players around him that bring other elements of.
Yeah, and I think in the game, the only thing I was a little bit worried about when I saw the starting lineup was that Ramsey's normally that one who covers across, but I didn't see
Wasn't
any.
highlighted.
It wasn't highlighted at all. I thought, as I say, Burt covered that role really well, and I thought Amari Bell showed maybe that more physical side and the athletic he brought more into his game because it was needed in the role. But yeah, no, brilliant. So let's move on to wing backs. So I think first of all, Josh Edwards.
Again, he is another one. It does feel like every week we're sort of saying, yeah, he's just performed really well again, and he did. Another one that just puts 100%. And I reckon he loves those games in the rain as well, where he can slide around and the sort of player he is, isn't it? He just loves getting in stuck in. And he had that really good block from the Campbell strike. And if that doesn't get blocked, you never know. Like Kaminsky might have got to it, but it's been hit from quite close range. And he's the sort of player that you want in front of a shot like that.
But once again, as well, I think the fact the discussion we're having around him, and he's had some really tough players he's been up against as well. I mean, this game, Ogbene, I think it was, who was up against him. You think Fatawu was one of the games. I think the other one was Watford had the... oh God, I can't remember the boy's name, but he was...
It's just high quality
really
players.
High quality, really
tricky.
And what he has is, I mean, Josh Edwards is not the absolute quickest, he's not the slowest, but he's just got this determination and tenacity, and he will make that player known what he's doing, and he reads the game really well, and I think that's where he gets really well in on the pace. He'll early on, he'll get that shove into them to know that look, you're going to have a tough game today. And I
reckon when wingers first come up against him, they're like, okay, I'm in for a game here. Like they know he's not going to give up on the ball, and even like you say, if someone beats him, he's straight back and he sprints after the ball every time.
And I think what's really important with him as well is a lot of the time he's defending those wingers so well as well. They're them pushing it into the middle of the pitch, and where do we thrive? We press really well across the pitch, and we end up pressing a lot of teams back because they're just really struggling to get down kind of either side. And I think that probably moves on to the other side so well, because for me, man of the match performance, absolutely incredible, and took me by surprise.
Same,
because I just was not expecting it at all, and that's Bree.
Yeah, I mean, as a full debut goes, there's not many better, I don't think, especially in that type of game. Like we've already spoken about it, how the Sheffield United crowd were really up for the game, Wilder coming back. He just looked class. Like every touch he had was like straight down control, like you said, straight head up, looking for that pass. And when he played the passes, they were really, really quality sort of passes.
I think the positioning was brilliant. Whenever he got the ball, he seemed to have space, and I think that's just how well he was positioning himself. And as I say, the pass he's got on him is the whip he's got on that ball when he gets it in, and I think that's probably what we saw from the highlight reels of like the free kicks he was hitting and stuff like that, technique. And it was just, I mean, he caused the amount of issues he caused. And I thought solid defensively, but I didn't really notice it as much in his game. I thought he was probably given a little bit more of that freedom that Apter normally gets, albeit I think he is maybe more defensive minded than an Apter. But yeah, no.
So good. And obviously the composure for the goal, and we've spoken about it already, but the way he took that ball down in his path. And then also, even the pass across goal, because you could, not a lot of players would just lash that across or overhit it.
As we've probably seen, I think if that's Apter or maybe a TC, who are that more volatile winger where we've questioned some of it. I think Apter maybe less, but TC, for example, there's a lot of players who would play it a bit too far behind, a bit too much pace, and he did just get it on a six.
That actually is the difference between a very, very good player and a decent player. The very, very good players can get those moments right, and that moment was obviously it's the game changer, wasn't it?
Do you? So I suppose the question I'd ask to you then on this: do you think that performance causes a headache in selection?
I do think it makes it very difficult to then bring Apter back in, because how after a performance like that, you're almost like, well, he's not put a foot wrong,
but had Apter.
No, not particularly, but also I do think as well Jones does go on a game-by-game basis, so I think he will look at the opposition that we have coming up, and he'll sort of assess what will be more effective in that particular game.
And I wonder if you've got that really quick physical wing back, a Brie might work better because you're not wanting to. I think Apter works at his best when he's running in behind
He's
you. He's
raw
getting
pace, isn't he?
raw
As well.
pace, that trickery. And when you've got that really physical wing back, sometimes that's not as effective because they do just get bullied out of the game, especially when you get, for example, like the boy at Coventry, that Van Erwijk, or his name is.
Yeah.
Someone like that, I think maybe an Apter would struggle against. And when you've actually got a Brie, you can play slightly deeper in the pitch and get those whipped balls in. Then we've got people like your Kelmans, especially, for example, Lloyd Jones, Miles Lieburn, especially towards the end of the game, who are maybe a bit more physical. If you can put those balls in, and apparently Greg Doherty, because that's another person. He just seems to have a magnet to his head.
He did.
And so I thought overall incredible.
But also, I just wanted to add with Brie as well. I felt like having him on the wing almost made our midfield feel more creative. Before, you've got Apter and TC are obviously very attack-minded, looking to go down the channels straight away. He almost was looking a bit more like, okay, I'll cross the ball from sort of a bit deeper. So not necessarily trying to take his man on, but actually playing the ball from depth. But also just looking for little threaded passes in the middle, which sort of adds a little bit more in terms of the creativity in that sort of more central area as well. I do think so. Yeah, he definitely brings a different element that is going to be really, really useful to have if he wants to rotate.
Yeah, and I think if we see many more performances like that, my main question will be where's the full contract, not a loan till January? Because my worry is looking at that performance, Southampton might look at it and go, "Oh, we'll have him back, please." But yeah, no, brilliant game, really impressed. So, let's move into the middle of the picture. So, I think both, once again, that we're going to have conversations about how good. I think let's start with Doherty, and we covered it in the last episode where he's going strength to strength. He's carried it on. I thought he was brilliant. Strength to strength to strength to strength, because he was brilliant, and I thought the positions he was getting into attacking wise, the work rate, very little, and I just think. I actually look back now at the conversations we're having at the start of the season, just think, what were we thinking? Because at the moment, we're looking like we've got an absolutely incredible centre mid there, who is kind of covering exactly what we need, gives the creativity to who's in front of him because he is that dogged kind of box-to-box midfielder, but he's bringing brilliant defensive parts of the game, brilliant attacking parts, and just coming together.
The overall picture is clicking now, isn't it? Yeah. And I think as well, like you can see he's really up for it every game now. Like you can see he's sort of flourishing now. He's like you say, he's getting forward more as well. And like those headers that he had 2, I think, in that match, and he had one that was really close actually. But even just to get himself in those positions, it's positive. Like he's moving the ball forward now, and he's getting into positions where he can be a threat. And I think he's probably out of all of our players, the one that sort of has really proven himself to be like really crucial. Actually,
well, I think the thing I'd look at is if we were signing him as a new signing this year, and these are the performances he was putting in, you would have given him grace on the first couple for bedding in. But if you were looking at these performances, we'd be having very similar conversations as we are to like people like Carey.
Yeah,
we're going, what a player we've got on our hands. And I think that probably speaks volumes because, say, at the beginning of the season, if you had brought him out and never played him again, there's a lot of Charlton fans who'd have been like, yeah, okay, that's an improvement.
The bad thing about football, though, isn't it? That you can have a few off games, and if you do then end up getting pulled out the side, that can be the end of your sort of time at a club.
But I do feel with Doherty he's taking it to a level that I'm not sure we've seen at Charlton before. Because I think in League One, as I say, the reasons why I had the question marks at the beginning of the season were because I wasn't always stunningly convinced last season. No. And if I'd have seen what I'm seeing now, maybe it's just blind to it in the moment and just maybe overlooking because of the position he plays and stuff. But I just think I hadn't seen what we're seeing now. Seems like an evolution of what we've had.
What I really like as well is that it's just it's leadership performances where he is sort of in that middle of the park as obviously captain as well. He is pushing the team on every week, and actually, if you're playing to a high level, it raises everyone else's level. They see, all right, he's really on it today, and it does raise everyone else around him. Long may it continue. I think
we're just Groundhog Day with a few of these players who are just really surprising us in such a good way. Brilliant. So next off, we'll go the other centre mid, Andrea Pirlo, Connor Coventry. I cannot believe his passing in that game. I thought was absolutely brilliant. I thought he did the dirty work brilliantly as well. I think he just, once again, strength to strength, probably from my side watching the game, probably the game once again I'd say is probably his best game of the
Yeah,
season.
you're right as well. Like the sort of dogged part of the game is his bread and butter, but he's now adding some sort of like jam on top of it, isn't he? Like, he started spraying those passes forwards. The cross for the Jones header was absolutely on a sixpence. And those little elements to his game, if he can start bringing that in on top of the way he's always guaranteed to players with winning the ball back and just running around like a nutter, basically, he will get better and better and better as well.
And I think it's so important when we are having those conversations over us not creating enough chances, etc. That gelling of that and creating more chances, and for example, Doherty getting into those positions, but also those passes from those positions, they're creating goals in scenarios, and obviously in that we didn't score, but they're creating those dangerous chances in positions where games are tight. That Jones goal goes in.
They're the moments,
The
aren't they?
crowd goes a bit kind of on everyone, and then we could be looking at a game where we're 2-3-0. And I think that's what's really impressive with what he's doing. He's starting to bring that side of the game where, I say, we saw it with the shot he had in the game a few games ago. I think it was Leicester.
Nearly went top bin.
Yeah, nearly went top bins. And I think we are. It reminds me a little bit of when Dobson just started out anywhere, springing the ball around. I just think he's starting to develop that side of his game brilliantly. And when you've got a Dock in form, Coventry in form, and then we've had conversations around the kind of a few different players he could sit in front, it starts to really gel together and just create a really and I think what Coventry brings is just that really solid base as well that every team kind of needs. So once again, I think we'll say it again, long may it continue. So let's move into the attacking side of the pitch, and probably out of all of the game, I think we've probably gone over the absolute best cream of the crop in the game. Sonny Carey.
Yeah, it was his quietest game, I would say, in terms of his influence on the game. I think previously we've spoken about how he had like sort of influence in pretty much every key attack that we were having. I think it was definitely a quieter game for him, but that's going to happen. And also, if other players are stepping up, it doesn't matter.
Well, and sometimes that might be. There's so many reasons. Sometimes it can be because you've had a few games in a row, they start marking you more, which opens up space that you're going to go into elsewhere. Other games as well just won't be as suited to that role. Like that role will be a bit. I think one of the things with that game was a big part of it was getting it out wide, whipping it in the box, and you're kind of. You bypass his role.
And you're right as well. It depends what sort of team, one, the team, and two, the type of player individually you're coming up against. Because if you've got someone that's like man marking you out of the game, it makes it a lot more difficult, doesn't it? So, I'm not quite sure what it was in this particular game, but like I say, it didn't actually end up mattering because we had so many other players who were bang on it.
Very, very rarely you can have every single player completely involved in the game, and there was just other people. I think if we were having the conversation and no one was involved in the game, you'd be critical. But I think with it,
but also it's not like he had a stinker. He just
it's just a
sort of.
I'd say it's a very average game where I didn't really notice him. They're going to happen, and after everything he's done recently, absolutely fine. So, so let's move on. We've got final two. Tyrese Campbell.
Yeah.
And not the one on the other side.
It's not often you get two Tyrese Campbells.
No. So we'll call him TC. Let's go TC. So, I thought he had a really good game. I thought he was causing the problems. I thought once again, it probably wasn't a game as much he gets involved in because I think the way we were playing was crossing from deeper. But I thought the times where we did need him, especially in the early parts of the game where it's stretching it out, stretching the game, he had that chance early on, was running at players. I thought he caused that little bit of fear factor that was only one side as well because we didn't have Apter in the game. I thought he played pretty well.
He had a good game, and to be honest, like again, he is the sort of player that he only needs one moment, doesn't he, where he just gets in behind and like creates a massive chance for us. One thing I did notice that I was quite happy to see actually is there was a moment where I think Godfrey was sort of ushering him out the pitch. And he obviously left a little bit on TC, and TC actually ended up like shoving him in the back. But I quite like that. He's sort of showing a bit of, a bit of grit.
Yeah,
you know
a
what I mean?
bite. Yeah,
and maybe that's something that in time will come to his game because if he adds that sort of, fire to his belly, which I'm not saying he doesn't necessarily have, but because of his size and stuff, he can get a bit ragdolled.
And it's quite funny when you see that because if you see him in interviews and stuff, he's
quite
a quiet kind of and I'm sure he's not maybe behind the scenes, but he is he's a much more mellow character. And I think, but they are the bits we've discussed that are kind of the evolution of a young player, especially going into the Championship.
Yeah.
Over the last 18 months, he has, without a doubt, become more physical.
Yeah.
He is stronger on the ball. There was that one summer, and I think it was last year, where he came back and you could just see
Yeah, bulked up a
more
little bit.
more bulk. He was
Yeah.
pushing players off a little bit more. That does take time, and I think we are starting to see. And as I say, you've hit the nail on the head. Seeing that side of him is good because I think that is what he needs to take it up a level.
And also every week in, week out now, he's going to come up against defenders that leave a little bit on him, that sort of try and bully him a little bit, and like, so actually to see him sort of give it back a little bit, and that again is just quite nice to see.
Yeah,
it just shows he's properly up for it. So.
I agree. I think good game.
Good game.
Good game. Nothing to write home about, but nothing he did wrong, and I think nothing I'm going to stand there and be critical of. I think it's just an overall good game. So, so finally in the starting lineup, Kelman.
Yeah, so again, it's like we're desperate for him to score on. That's basically it. Like, he is showing more and more that he's sort of what he brings as a striker. And I think he had that, we spoke earlier about it, that chance where he sort of almost got one-on-one. I guess he sort of lashed it across goal. But he, more and more, he is going to get into those positions. He's going to have more and more chances where he's sort of on the last man, the ball's played through, that sort of thing.
And I think the thing I'd say about Kelman, if you look at him game by game from his first game through to now, are we week on week seeing a little bit more, and are we seeing improvements? Yes. Yeah. The realistic side is we are getting to it now where probably over the next 5 games, there needs to be a goal in there for his confidence. Yeah. And I think we do need to be seeing maybe a little bit more. But as I say, I'll always bring it back to Godden of last year. I think especially new strikers coming into a squad where everyone else is gelling behind him. I'm not going to judge him till at least 10 to 15 games. And I'm actually quite pleased with what I'm seeing. And
yeah, I am.
I think that position he got into for that kind of running in, equally as well, the positioning for after the header from Jones.
Yeah.
He was in the right place, and that's what we've seen. You think over the years of like world-class strikers like your Van Nistelrooys and stuff, they were always
poaching.
And that's what he is. He's a poacher. Yeah. And I think that's something that just little things we're seeing that are positives, albeit it does need to convert into at some point.
Yeah, I think also what he just needs is like the ball to fall to him on like the 6-yard area and just tap it in. Yeah. Like, that would be so good just to get one goal in there.
I think interviews with so many strikers where they say you go through these patches, especially when you first sign for a club, all you've got to just be careful is that patch doesn't keep going on and on.
But you can tell. I think you can tell that he's very eager to get that goal. Like when he gets subbed off and so, you can tell he's like, oh, I wish I could have just got a goal in today. But...
So I think it was probably, once again, I think if we're having those conversations at the moment, that week on week we're seeing it in a better direction, more improvement, the goals will come.
I think as long as he's moving in the right direction in terms of not just being like marked out of a game or just you don't notice him, but we are noticing it.
And I think we've also, as well, if we are going to be critical of one thing this year, it's probably creating as many chances. And for that, you can't also be too critical of your strikers. I think if you had Leeburn sitting on 6 goals for the season, you might turn around and go, okay, yeah, why is Leeburn doing it, not him? But no one is really. I think probably our top scorer is what? 1, maybe 2 goals.
I think no, it's all single figures.
Yeah, I think it's all single figures. So, I think once again, positive direction. And once again, fingers crossed that just keeps moving in that direction. So, so let's finish off with the lineup with the substitutes. So, we had Leeburn coming on in the 61st minute. Nibs coming on in the 79th minute, and Tanto as well. Let's start off with the earliest of those subs. So Leeburn.
So I mean, Leeburn brought what he always brings when he comes on, is that physicality, bit of trickery for a big man, and obviously the danger of him sort of getting a flick on and getting someone else in through on goal. He had his big chance where Nibs won the ball back. And then he had a shot from probably a bit too far out, I would say. I mean, he did put his foot through it, to be fair.
I don't know if you look back, because I said this at the time, but my only feeling, and it's probably so naive, because if you're a striker, your eyes are like, Hollywood, here we go, I'm going to whack it top corner. But there was a run from Nibs to the left that if he had just it was literally, it would have been 1-on-1.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably a bit optimistic to think a striker is going to think, okay, Nibs is going to be running to the left-hand side. I also think with that, if he hadn't hit it there, potentially the striker would have closed him down and every Charlton fan would have been saying,
why didn't you hit it?
And he caught it quite well.
Do you know what as well? I do think on a day like that where it was bucketing it down, a shot from distance, not always a bad option, because the keepers could easily let it go.
And the way he saved it, if it had saved it the other way, for example, it could have gone to a Nibs who was running in.
So I think that might have been in his mind as well. It's like, okay, it's a skiddy surface, let's have a pop. You never know. And he's got a rocket, to be fair. He's going to hit the ball hard. So, yeah, like I say, he brought what he always brings, which is danger for the centre backs to defend against. And obviously, he also ended up getting the initial flick onto Nibs, who then flicked it onto Bree. So, yeah, he had a big contribute. He contributed well in the end because he added something different, and obviously, he did contribute to the goal that we end up scoring.
Yeah,
So.
as once again, I'd have very little. I think the only critical thing I sometimes think with Leeburn, but then you do get the moments like last week where he got it through to TC and he was in kind of running in on goal. Sometimes I do think, because he's quite tricky with his feet, he sometimes just sort of bumbling around and loses the ball and then they're on the counter. And I think sometimes there are just moments where you think, okay, you're not Messi, you're not going to get out of this.
Yeah.
He does just kind of, as I say, gets a bit bumbly with what he's doing. But
I think we forget how old he is as well, though. He's young.
He's
Do you know what I mean?
young.
He's still
He's learning the game. Yeah.
So I think that'll get
So
better.
no, I think overall very good game, and if that's the only criticism I have of him in that, I say I thought there was other games he probably had more of an impact, but overall, as you say, he was involved in passages of the goal. He also had that other chance, which I think he did okay with. So
he's also just a handful, isn't he? Like you can tell the opposition defenders when he comes on the half.
I can imagine if you're like 70th minute, and you see him run on like Wardrobe just running around. It's not the nicest to see, and probably another one that wouldn't be the nicest to see come on. Nibs, because I thought he had a really good game. He's another physical.
He's starting to show now. Obviously, he hasn't started a game yet, but that was probably the first game where he came on. Obviously, he got the goal at Watford, but the game on Saturday, you could tell like he did impact that game, and he looked dangerous. He's well up for it. The where he won that ball back for Leeburn to go in and have a shot, that showed that he's sort of physical. He's happy to go and harass players and stuff.
And I think something we probably saw of him is a different type, because we hit this over and over week on week. We don't really know. Well, I'm sure there are some players who have maybe seen a bit more than maybe what I have, and I've only really ever seen him in games he's played against us or highlight reels.
Yeah.
Parts of the game you just don't necessarily know loads about, and I think what he showed there was he's willing to be that player on the press, work hard. He's willing to be the player and go up and win headers, and I think the interesting side of that is it's maybe bringing a side to the game that, once again, if you can take a Carey off for 60, 70 minutes in and bring on another kind of threat like that.
But also, we spoke about, okay, when's his time going to come in terms of getting into the team, and we sort of hinted at the fact there might be when Carey starts dropping off a little bit. You could argue in that game Carey did drop off a little bit, so it might then actually make Jones think I might tweak him in for a game, not even necessarily like consistently.
I think I'd like to. I would. There are a few players, and I think one will be one we come on to for such great reasons. But I think Nibs is another one. I would like to at some point soon see him start a game.
It'd be good.
And I don't. As you say, I don't know if that would just be one game, just putting him in, or whether it might be off injury or whatever it might be. But I would like to see a little bit more of what he actually brings throughout the game. Because I think even in this one, he had the moments that were good. I think away from that, the last one he had of that was probably the goal in the first game of the season. But he started to show a few little signs. But I'd like to see just a little bit more of what it's about.
Like 90 minutes or however long you're on when you start a game, that gives you a really much better idea of what they bring. And it would be nice to see that sort of over a full 90. Yeah, he's played a couple of cup appearances, hasn't he?
Definitely. So let's move on to the final one and Tanto time. I mean, to be fair, didn't have too much in the game. Came on 79th minute. It was a tough, cagey game.
Yeah,
he's a physical presence. He's dangerous on that side of things, but we didn't see too much. But similar to the Nibs one when he came on in the first game, it hinged on a moment.
Well, also, like you say, he came on the 79th minute, so he had 10 minutes plus injury time to sort of show what he could do. But you have to be in those positions, and to come off the bench and sort of make yourself open. Obviously, he had to make that run into the middle.
He's had to peel off a man. He's had to run in behind, and he's got
and then he has tucked it away. I mean, you would be livid if he didn't put that away.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's 90th minute. You never know. Like, you've seen it happen.
Stars in your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. and like, he's going to be desperate to get his first goal. So. Yeah, we've said for a while now that we'd like to have seen him come on a little bit earlier for maybe TC, for example, in games. He got given, obviously, a 10-minute spell at the end of this game, but my word, did he sort of show that he can have a big impact.
Do you think there's a game coming up soon where he does start?
I think so. From his interviews as well, I watched after the game, he's obviously it's pretty obvious, but you can tell that he's had words with Jones and sort of said, I want to have my chance here. And obviously scoring a goal like that is only going to give.
It's not going to hurt your
No,
chances.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be a bit of a knock on the door on Monday morning.
Yeah.
Let's give me that shot at 90 minutes.
I think it will be coming soon because I think there's a point where maybe TC does just tire off from the amount of games. Because remember as well, TC's young.
Yeah.
So they will need that resting side.
Yeah.
But also I think there just will be a game where what he brings will just suit the game really well. Because I do think he brings something different, maybe that slightly more physical side that TC. He's a bit more bulky.
Yeah.
And I don't know what game that is, but there will definitely be opportunities there. And I think what we've seen there is hopefully when he does get those opportunities,
he'll take them.
And are we having that conversation in most positions,
Pretty
to be
much
honest?
every.
We're saying that every position, if they take their chance, Bree, Apter, we're talking Nibs, Carey, we're talking Tanto and TC. It's all positions where rotation, and if you do drop off and you take your eye off the ball, there is someone who is sniffing in the background, and it might be the sniffer dog who's there. So, but there's someone in the background who is waiting for their chance, and will take it.
You can see why Jones has created a squad the way he has. He's given players the opportunity to prove himself, and if they're good enough, they will stay in the first 11. If they're not up to it, then there's someone there waiting to take their place, and that's a really healthy sort of situation to have as a manager. But yeah, also Tanto just seems like such a nice guy. You watch his interviews afterwards, you're like,
I think
he's so likable, and like Stockport fans said that they all loved him.
I think there's a reason why he's been a fan favourite before, and we've seen that with Carey a little bit as well, haven't we? But that once again highlights. I think we've just got such a good group of characters. I don't think there's anyone in there
goes far as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, we've looked at so many squads in the past and just thought, good player, but like pretty rotten character. You can tell it just doesn't. And I think the one thing we've got in abundance is that kind of good characters, good people who all want to work hard for each other. And I think it's what makes us such a
strong outfit.
Such a strong kind of outfit, because when you look at it, as say on paper, we are one of the lowest value squads. We are one of the lowest wage bills. Yet we're punching above our weight to a certain
100%.
extent, and showing people why
100%.
That's only half of what you kind of need.
You're right as well, because like in the past we've had sort of bit of a team of misfits in haven't we? Sort of some weird loans, like sort of players that maybe like are good players, but they're sort of a bit lost in their career and stuff like that. Whereas
they're just
not a bit just weird.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember like, the days I look at, and the player I'd say that highlights that was when we signed up players like Marcus Maddison.
Yeah, Maddison. I was going to say Maddison.
Who was just such a wrong character. But came with, and we all got excited because I think you could pretty much chuck anyone at Charlton at that point. We would have been excited because we just were desperate for.
But it just highlights like the unity, like you said, that we have in that team, and like that Jones will not bring a player in unless he fits that mould of that sort of type of player, and it's really nice to see. Like you said, we're hitting above probably where we should be at the moment because we've got that sort of really good togetherness in the squad. So we can't complain at all, really. Can we?
No, I think no. So overall, brilliant performance, brilliant day, and hopefully onwards and upwards now to the next game. Be nice if we can get a couple of.
We've got quite a nice run of fixtures. I mean, I know like in the Championship, obviously fixtures, the ones that you tend to think are quite nice, like QPR, we thought would be a nice one. And we end up losing.
I don't think there's any. If you look at, I think it was this week that maybe I'm pretty sure all but 2 of the games went against the bookies' favourites, and I think the only one that was I think Birmingham,
Middlesbrough won.
Birmingham, and I'm pretty sure it was the Coventry drew with.
I can't remember who they played.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
Leicester. I think it might be.
Yeah, I think it was.
I think it might have been Leicester.
It was.
But they were the only 2 ones. Every other game was against the bookies' odds, and that just shows. And every week you look at it and you think, "Oh Christ, they've won. They were terrible last week."
Yeah.
And it's just, it really does show, and it's
like Wrexham. We were saying how like they're going to struggle, and then they go and beat Norwich. So yeah. I mean,
it pretty much shows it. I'm not sure at the moment. It doesn't seem as hard of a task as I thought it might be at the beginning of the season. But no. So let's move on then and look ahead to our next game. So we'll be back at the Valley, obviously, awaiting Blackburn Rovers, and I'm bloody glad it's not at Ewood Park, because I don't know if you saw the game was
postponed
because it was.
They'd be livid though, because they were 1-0 up against Ipswich, weren't they? And then they got postponed.
Yeah.
But I think Blackburn are a team that probably aren't going to pull up trees this year. I think you had them tipped as one of your lower down teams.
Yeah, well, I had them. I think it's the divide of them finishing where they did last year, which I think was just outside the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think I saw them as being, from memory, I think it was about 19th, 18th, 19th. I think I just see them as a squad who hasn't invested for a long, long time, but they are a pretty staple Championship club.
They've been there for ages.
They've been there for ages. Oh, look, I think they're there for the taking, especially at the Valley.
Yeah,
I very much struggle to look at what I would look at them and think, okay, there's something dangerous there that we can't deal with. And I think that could be our opportunity to really stamp in, get back-to-back
that would be
wins.
nice. Back-to-back would be really nice, because then it actually really does propel you up that division. So that when eventually, which is inevitable, will come, is that we get the loss. We'll still be up in that sort of nicer area of the table where we can sort of get away with losing. But yeah, having 2 wins on the spin in the Championship will be unreal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Blackburn is a nice home game for us next. And then it's just how we perform.
And I think it's an important one, because I think we had the QPR game where we maybe had that. I think of all the games we've had so far, they probably drop into the more competitive games where we think, actually, this is I think there's some games we go into and go, yeah, brilliant result, we got a draw, tough result, we lost, but they are a very good side, like your Leicesters, Bristol Cities. But I think when you probably have a Blackburn at home, they are the games where I go into think, when I looked at the fixture list, yeah, that's one.
Not bad.
I actually would probably not necessarily expect us to win, but I think of all the games we're going to have, they've fit very much more on that side than I'd be very disappointed if we came away having lost, for example, or probably even drawn. I think it's that prime example.
I think I had a brief look at live score where for the next week's games, and we are the slight favourites in that game, and I probably would tip us as slight favourites against Blackburn because of the off the back of the win, but also home game. We're great at the Valley. We've got a really solid base there. Obviously, the fans are coming back now as well, which is really nice.
So I think an interesting one off the back of this week's performance and the performance at Millwall as well. Obviously, we've had variations in the lineup. Do you feel, off the back of the lineup we've just kind of obviously put out at Bramall Lane, what would you change? Would you bring your Apter back in? Would you bring your Ramsey back in? Do you keep it the same? What's your kind of thoughts on?
So I think Ramsey comes back in for Burke, because also we've spoken about Burke's fitness and stuff like that, and obviously he's played 90 minutes, probably his first 90 for a while.
I also think Ramsey hasn't come out due to poor. He's come out because he made a silly mistake and it was forced. And I think Ramsey is probably
one of our best players,
one of our most valuable. So
yeah, I think Ramsey comes back in.
Bree?
I don't know. I think I would be very tempted to keep Bree in, to be honest, after that performance. I think it's really harsh to drop him. But at the same point, like, Apter being dropped was fairly harsh as well, because he's not really done that much wrong. But Apter didn't even come on, did he? So
no, I don't think it was really the game. No, I'm not 100% sure it was the game. I think we were getting our best chances from that deep cross or the kind of more physical side of the game, so I'm not 100% sure.
If I'm Jones, and because of Apter's age, and obviously Apter won't be livid for being benched because he's had a really good start in the side, I'd stick with Bree. I think I would.
Yeah,
I think I would.
I think it's a difficult one, because I think what Apter brings, and I think probably what I'd have to look at, and maybe it's just due to not knowing their starting lineup ins and outs. I think it would depend on what the player you're coming up against is, and what their weaknesses are.
As I said as well, to be fair, that's what Jones will be doing week in, week out. He'll be assessing who the wing backs are that they're coming up against, and what players suits
How
him.
refreshing is it? We can now be having conversations saying, well, if we come up against this, we can play this system or these players. Whereas I think last season, if we had one injury, we were almost like panic stations running around going, what the hell are we going to do? So it's such a lovely conundrum to have, isn't it, really?
It is, and I think especially at this level, because if you didn't have that option of rotating players, you'd be in a bit of trouble. So that's why Jones has made sure that every position he's got cover. But yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm really, really pleased with the way we've started. And I think we said before, we started well, but obviously we've been a bit unlucky in games. But to get that win against Sheffield is a real boost. It's
what you need, because there's only so long you can go along going, what a great performance, but you're only picking up a point or losing or whatever. And I think I think if we had gone a few more games with still the same brilliant performance but not getting the points, we'd all be getting a bit nervy. Whereas I think what that does, it just releases this big thing of pressure off where we go,
100%.
Actually now we're probably looking at it and going, 6 games in, what an exceptional start to the season. If we had lost or drew yesterday, I think we'd be going, look, it's a good start, but we have to do this, but we have to do that.
Because also there's even like teams like Oxford they beat Bristol 3-1
Mm.
at the weekend, and like it doesn't take much for those teams that are down the bottom to start creeping up.
Mm.
If you're not winning games, you really do start dropping
You
down.
get dragged in, and then it's the pressure of actually, okay, now we have to start picking up the points, and I think that pressure on top of that can cause a lot of problems. So I think that's probably a good time to kind of move towards the end of the episode. I have a habit of sometimes forgetting this, but I think I just love the look of it so much that we will look over the league table. So we'll be bringing that up on the screen now. But yeah, Charlton sitting in 11th place.
Yeah,
3 points off the playoffs.
Yeah.
4 points off the top two.
yeah. Well, if we get that win against Blackburn, we will be pushing into that playoff place. To be fair,
As I say, but it does highlight. I mean, 4 points above, you're looking at Stoke, who a lot of people are raving about their kind of start to the season, and we're only 4 points off that. And then when you also add in, you look at Millwall last week, where we were unlucky, albeit our own downfall there. Games like the Leicester game, I think we're probably underestimating how good of a start to the season it's been. Because when you actually look at how many teams have been up and down, I don't think it's going to be a division where we're going to be walking away, you're going to win game after game after game. There's going to be that up and down. The fact we are where we are, and I think we've been unlucky this season.
Yeah, we could be higher.
Is a real testament, and I think it actually gives me quite a bit of excitement for this season.
Like, who knows? Like, weirder things have happened. Like, you don't know, and that's what's brilliant about like where we are now is really every game is just it's exciting, isn't it? It's so...
I will, as I say, at this stage now, when we're looking at a championship table with us in 11th, I think Alex hit the nail on the head at the beginning of the episode. Go to 1 year ago today and have a look at a League One table that would be depressingly dismal. Although actually at that point,
or go back a few
seasons ago and just remember the impending pain we had, and now looking at 11th place in the championship, above Norwich, Wrexham, Millwall, Ipswich. I mean Southampton, Sheffield United. I mean
it's crazy.
It is quite crazy, and I think it's just lovely to see. So hopefully, as I say, we'll keep now moving back up that direction. And yeah, no, brilliant day all round. And I'm just really excited for the next game now.
Yeah, roll on.
Yeah, no, I think that's a brilliant way to wrap things up. So, yeah, we really appreciate you watching another episode. Just a quick reminder, we say this on pretty much every episode, but 75% of you who are watching this are not subscribed to the channel. Takes you a moment. Really, really appreciate if you could just press the subscribe button, the notifications, leave comments on the video as well. Let us know what your thoughts were on the game as well. And we'll see you on the next one.